Hello Internet, I am the Hero of Julios once again with the final episode of the Preparing for Set 3 series. In this final episode we will be talking about the 6th and final color, as well as the game's newest color, yellow. Yellow has 3 brand new leader cards, and I have already talked about 2 of them in previous videos, so I'll try not to spend too much time on them. But I'm going to start off with Arlong, a 5000 power 4 life leader with the Fishman, East Blue, and Arlong types underneath him. Following up what I said during my green video, I love the idea of all of your life stack being play this card triggers. Unfortunately for Arlong, the intention for you to use green and yellow characters is kind of lost, as I feel Arlong will be his strongest when you play with just yellow and a few good green event cards. I stand by what I said in my green video though, that he is going to be a C tier leader. Fun at your locals, but probably nothing that's going to top charts. Following up from my black video, we have Charlotte Linlin, a 5000 power 4 life leader of both the black and yellow variety. Yellow is all about life manipulation, and I won't say gain, as almost every card that adds to your life stack also asks you to take one away. This is similar to the recovery mechanic from Digimon, but it won't ever let you have more than 5 life unless your opponent is doing something horribly wrong. However, if you combine yellow and black, suddenly Streusen, Katakuri, and Mont d'Or from the starter deck all become great threats. Because of that, Mama is an A tier leader. And now the only leader I haven't said anything about in any video, Charlotte Katakuri, a 5000 power 5 life yellow leader with the Dawn 1 ability. When attacking, look at up to one of your life cards, or your opponent's life cards, and put it either on the top or bottom of that life area. Then, this leader gains 1000 power for this battle. Note clearly how that is a then, not a if you do kind of thing, so because of that, putting a Dawn on Katakuri, even if both you and your opponent have no life left, you are swinging at 7000 power. One Dawn to do a 7k strike leaves you with one more Dawn than any other player on curve. I love that they made his future sight into a mechanic of looking at the life stack, and because of this, I think Katakuri is an S tier leader, considering you don't even need to have life to use his power, and when there is life, you have something your opponent does not: knowledge. Unless you're playing in an online tournament, in which case your opponent does get to know if you're looking at his stack. Moving on from our leaders, we have our vanilla cards, the 1 cost to play 3000 power 1000 counter Kami, the 2 cost to play 4000 power 1000 counter Bobbin the Disposer, a 4 cost to play 6000 power 1000 counter Charlotte Opera, and the 3 cost to play 5000 power 1000 counter Charlotte Praline. Honestly, this is just to fill out most of the roster for Yellow's vanillas due to the fact that they are a bit behind. They are 2 boosters behind the other colors, but I would like to bring to attention the decision of mermaids in yellow. I know Praline is already one of Big Mom's kids, so she already fit the theme of yellow, but other yellow cards tell me that in the future, yellow might be getting a Fishman Island deck. Maybe Jinbei as a red-yellow leader, perhaps? The first of our 1 cost cards is Charlotte Pudding, 1 cost to play 2000 power with 1000 counter, and the on play of looking at the top 4 cards of our deck, revealing a Big Mom Pirates card other than Pudding, or a Sanji, and add it to our hand. Then we place the remaining cards at the bottom of our deck in any order. I think it's adorable that lore-wise she also searches for Sanji in addition to her family, but the interesting thing about this card is that it only looks at the top 4 rather than the top 5 like all other searchers, or at least most other searchers. I'm wondering if this is something we'll see in the future to make searchers less powerful. Regardless, she's a searcher, she's got counter power, and she only costs 1, that's a pretty easy A tier for me. Our other 1 cost to play is Streusen, a 1 cost to play 1000 power 2000 counter. With the on-play ability, you may discard 1 card with trigger from your hand to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. This is an okay card in yellow, but if you use the Charlotte Linlin that combines it with black, he is a 2k slapped on him with an amazing counter power, and I think he'll be a pretty strong card in specifically the black and yellow deck, as you'll be able to lower the cost of characters to take them out with Streusen. Outside of black and yellow combos, I don't think he'll see a lot of use in yellow, and therefore I'm going to only give him C tier. Our first 2-cost character is the 2-cost to play, 3000 power, 2000 counter Sanji. With a Dawn 2 ability of when attacking, you may add the top or bottom card of your life area to your hand to add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life area. He's another 2k counter, which is good as it is, but his ability to let you cycle through cards that you'd rather not see in your life for a chance at something else makes him pretty good to me. You couple this with Katakuri and you're either looking before you swap, or you're looking at the card you just swapped with. Either way, I would say this is a pretty B tier card. There's really nothing to say about Charlotte Gillette, a 2-cost to play, 2000 power, 1000 counter with blocker. She's a blocker with 2k power and 1k counter. And our final 2-cost character is Charlotte Chiffon, a 2-cost to play with 3000 power. For on play, you may trash the top or bottom card of your life to place up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. You can cycle through your life stack with her, but she offers no counter power, and because of that, honestly I feel like most people will just use Sanji instead of her, so I don't think this card is going to see a lot of play. As a result, I'm only going to put her in D tier. We got a decent amount of 3 costs in yellow, starting off with King Baum, a 3-cost to play, 5000 power with no counter power, and the trigger, you may trash the top or bottom card of your life to play this card. You lose a card in life to play this card via his trigger. That is the equivalent of giving your opponent double attack. This is terrible in my opinion, and I would not even play this card at all if Arlong didn't exist. Surprisingly, thanks to Arlong's ability, this card can see some play because you can just cheat him out for free, or for 1 cost, using Arlong's ability. There are way better 5k power characters with trigger, but if you really want to fill out your deck with as many triggers as possible, this card does count. I don't think his trigger will ever be used by someone unless they think they are so far ahead that losing 2 life isn't a problem. Because of this, I'm putting King Baum in D tier. Next up, we have Madame Charlie, a 3-cost to play, 3000 power with 1000 counter and blocker. Her on play lets us look at up to 1 card from the top of ours or our opponent's life, and then place it at the top or bottom of that life stack. This is a blocker that lets you peek into your opponent's life stack, which is really good. Honestly though, I think I'm gonna wait until we see some more mermaid support before I put her in my deck. Following up, we have Charlotte Oven, a 3-cost to play, 4000 power with 1000 counter, and the Dawn 1 ability of when attacking, we may discard 1 card with trigger from our hand, and this character will gain 3000 power during this battle. For only 1 Dawn attached and trashing a card, you can have an 8k swing on your 3rd turn. But honestly, I'd only run 1 or 2 of him, but I think he's at least worth a try. So I'll put him in B tier. Our next card is a little interesting with Charlotte Perospero, a 3-cost to play, 5000 power with no counter. His on KO lets us look at the top 3 cards of our deck, reveal a Big Mom Pirates type card and add it to our hand, then return the rest to the bottom of the deck in any order. His trigger lets us discard a card from our hand to play this card. Honestly, who cares if he doesn't have a counter power? He has a decent trigger, he's a 5k for 3, which makes him as strong as vanillas of the same cost, and he's a searcher if he gets taken out, which he will because he's a 5k, so your opponent can't just ignore him. He's gonna be swinging every single turn. Because of this, I'm putting him as a strong A tier with even potential for S depending on how well that searching will work out. And our final 3-cost character is Napoleon, the 3-cost to play, 3000 power with 1000 counter. His main ability is we can rest this card and give up to one of our Charlotte Linlins 1000 power until the start of our next turn. His trigger allows us to play this card. Keep in mind that Charlotte Linlin means that he can power up a character or leader of that name, so he makes a great defensive card for Linlin decks. He's not as good as Zeus or Prometheus from the starter deck though, so I'm gonna put him in C tier. Next up, we have our 4-cost characters, starting with Charlotte Cracker, a 4-cost to play, 5000 power with 1000 counter, and the Dawn 1 ability. While you have less life than your opponent, this character gains double attack and 1000 power. Its trigger ability lets you discard one card from your hand to play this card. A 7k swing with double attack, a trigger that gets him on the board, 1k counter, and a regular art that goes harder than its alt art. Cracker is a great card all around, and because of that, I think he has the potential for S tier, maybe a weak S tier, strong A tier kind of area, but I'm gonna put him as an S tier card. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same about his sister Charlotte Smoothie, a 4-cost to play 5,000 power with 1,000 counter. The when attacking ability, you may add one card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. This character gains 2,000 power during this battle. Her trigger effect lets you discard a card to play her from hand. Her ability doesn't require any Dawn attached, and a 7k swing does sound helpful, but I'm concerned about losing a life card just for one stronger swing. There's a reason the red Sanji from set 1 doesn't see more play, and it is a 2k counter on top of that. Because of this, I'm going to have to say Charlotte Smoothie is a C tier card. Maybe really good in Arlong, but probably not going to see any play in a solid yellow deck. Next up, we have our only 5-cost character, Shirahoshi. 5 cost to play, 0 power, and 1,000 counter, with the on-play ability of draw 3 cards and trash 2 from your hand. Her trigger allows us to play her straight from the life stack. I once played a game called Yu-Gi-Oh! And Graceful Charity was one of the most famous cards from those early days. Being able to draw 3 and trash 2 may only net you 1 card, but it allows you to get rid of a lot of dead draws from previous turns. However, due to the fact that if she shows up in your hand rather than your life stack, she would herself be a dead draw. And as much as I would love to just play her using her trigger thanks to all the yellow ways to do that, having 0 power means she's not really much more than an event card that sticks on the board. Because of this, I think, all in all, I'm gonna have to put Shirahoshi as a D tier.
Hello Internet, it's the Hero of Julios in the editing booth thing where I will be recorrecting myself on this. So, was editing this video, heard my thoughts on it, and honestly, D tier is not the spot that I would want to put Shirahoshi now, considering that her effect has been very useful in a few of the store tournaments I've been in the last few days. I'm actually going to bump her up to an A tier card, so I just wanted to correct myself on that. Back to the video.
Our next card is the secret rare Charlotte Katakuri, an 8 cost to play, 8,000 power with no counter. His on play lets us put up to 1 character that costs 8 or less on the top or bottom of its owner's life face up. Big Mom's number 2 right here, and boy is he scary. You can send an opponent's character to the top or bottom of their life stack, and because it's face up, you're not even going to forget what's waiting for you. You combine this with a couple black cards, and you can even get rid of the biggest threats in the game. Not to mention, this does allow you to put cards on top of your life stack as well, so he even doubles as a defensive maneuver if push really comes to shove. Honestly, this is an S tier. This is what I believe a secret rare card should be in terms of both power and ability. And our final character card is Mama herself, Charlotte Linlin, a 10 cost to play with 12,000 power and no counter. Her on-play ability is if your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type, place up to 1 card from the top of your deck at the top or bottom of your life. Then, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life. Your leader does have to be a Big Mom Pirate, so sorry Arlong, you're not going to be able to use this. But, you gain a new card to the top or bottom of your life and trash one of your opponent's top life. Plus, she's also a 12k beat stick every other turn after. This Big Mom is a threat unlike any other, and for now, I'm gonna have to say S tier. This card scares me, and I dread seeing my opponent plop it down. As for our event cards, we start off with Ikoku Sovereignty, a 2 cost counter that gives one of your leader or characters 5,000 power during this battle. Its trigger allows us to discard 2 cards from the hand and add up to 1 card from the top of our deck to the top of our life. 2 Dawn for 5k power? It doesn't do anything extra, but it's an extra 1k compared to all other cards of roughly the same cost. The trigger is pretty good as well if you're falling behind your opponent when it comes to life, so I'm going to put this card in the A tier. But the ball doesn't stop rolling for good event cards for yellow, because we have the 2-cost Buzz Cut Mochi. With the main effect, if you have less life than your opponent, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Its trigger lets you play up to one character with trigger with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. Yes, the card does need you to have less life, but if you're losing, this is the perfect card to start your comeback. As such, I'm gonna put him in A tier as well. While not as impressive as the other event cards of the same cost, the 2-cost Thunderbolt is still an interesting card to add to the game. You may trash one card from the top of your life to KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Its trigger lets us KO one of our opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So honestly, you're going to want to use this more as a life card than you are going to want it in your hand. 5-cost cards are a little tricky to get rid of, so it is nice to start seeing cards that can handle that. However, because it does require you to sacrifice a life card to get rid of something, I can't bring myself to put this any higher than B tier. And our final yellow card, our final event card, and our final card for this little series about set 3 is Tropical Torment, a 3-cost to play event card. Its main effect is, if your opponent has 4 or more life cards, place up to one card from the top of your opponent's life area into the trash. Its trigger effect lets us activate the card's main effect. If your opponent is dual colored, this card can only be used once. Twice if they're mono-colored, and only if you draw this card very early. It's just not a good card. I think it's rather cheeky. I think it's a funny way to catch your opponent off guard if you manage to hit them once with it, but it's impossible to run more than 2 of this card without it being a dead draw. Like, you know, your 3rd or 4th one that you draw, if you use the other 2, your opponent will be at 3 life, you know, so you're not gonna see yourself using this card a lot. I'm gonna say high D, low C tier if I was going to do anything with it, but I don't see myself putting more than 1 copy in a deck as a joke. My fellow collectors, we have our work cut out for us this time, as there are a whopping 8 alternate arts altogether for yellow. But if you've been following along with my videos, you know that 2 of these were already mentioned in previous videos, so yeah, there's technically 6 if you're following along and collecting as we go. Pudding is a searcher, and given her artwork, I'm gonna say, like I said in my last video, this is gonna be like Califa. This is a very heavy waifu tax card, and we know how well Nami's doing as an alt art from set 1. And plus you also have Katakuri as a secret rare with an alt art. So yellow has a lot of desirable cards, and therefore you better hope you just pull these from your boosters. They're not going to be cheap. As for the color itself, overall yellow is coming out of the gate with a new playstyle of life manipulation. Some cards assume you're making use of the dual-colored Lindlin, but for the most part yellow is going to be a strong deck. I'm not sure if it'll topple over the rushing power of red or the manipulation of red-green law, but I think at your locals it should get you into the top 4 if not taking first place. But that's it for set 3. I'm definitely going to put more time into preparing for set 4 if I do this again, but as always I would like to hear in the comments from people whether or not you enjoyed this. Is this a series I should do more of? I'm thinking about doing it for Digimon to see what people think of my opinions on those cards upcoming. Plus, it makes it a lot easier to give my thoughts on cards without having to give those thoughts while I open booster boxes. I just like talking about One Piece. I like talking about Digimon. I like talking about how my thought process of the card game works. I'm no regional champion or anything, but I get by. I'm pretty powerful in my locals, if I do say so myself. Regardless though, thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.